So I've been out of prison now for just over a year, and things have been going relatively well. I've talked about my struggles with PTSD and anxiety and other mental health issues, but the last few months I feel like I'm going through something different, and the best way I can describe it is as spiritual warfare. And so for the majority of my life, I feel like I was a top player on the Devils team, if you will. Um, I've taken I've been tried and convicted of taking two people out of this world, tons of other violent things and other charges. And now that I'm trying to live a religious life, and now that I'm fully committed to Jesus and to the Catholic Church, I feel like the devil is just pulling out all the stops right now to pull me back over. And so when I get into these moods, I read the Bible, obviously, early church fathers, the saints, and just try to look for guidance. And whether by accident or whether by divine providence, I stumbled across St. Ignatius of Loyola, who was a 16th century soldier turned saint. And he has written extensively on spiritual warfare. So I just find it a little ironic that he's the one I stumbled upon while going through these struggles. And so he writes in his book, Rules for the Discernment of Spirits, he writes, a spirit interacts with you depending entirely on where your life is headed. So the first way he interacts is if you're living a life of sin. So the devil's tactics in these instances, he wants to keep you comfortable. He acts like a friendly guide, offering apparent pleasures and sensual delights to keep you trapped in vice. God, on the other hand, he acts as the disruptor. He pricks and bites your conscience with guilt, unease, and restlessness to wake you up. And I think everyone can relate to that. Whenever we do something that we know is bad, we we feel guilty and we feel horrible about it. So now the second phase is when is called the turning point, when you're moving away from your life of sin. And this is where everyone's tactics change. The devil's tactics change. He drops the friendly act and he goes on the attack. He tries to bite, sadden, put obstacles in your way using false reasons and intense doubt. Like, you're a hypocrite. You've gone too far. Your sins are too big to be forgiven, which I hear all the time. And he makes your past life look highly appealing. God's tactics, on the other hand, he becomes your source of peace, quiet, courage, and strength. And I can 100% attest to this, to God becoming your peace, your quiet, your courage, and your strength. Um, for if you guys don't know, I suffer from ADHD, and so if you know anything about ADHD, there's just a nonstop chorus of voices in your head, just a nonstop chatter, and from morning until night, and it's pretty tiring. But when I pray the rosary, and I'm not exaggerating or anything here, when I pray the rosary for 30 minutes out of my day, everything is completely quiet. And there's like an actual peace over me. And for anyone that has ADHD and doesn't get a single second where there isn't constant chatter in their head, just those 30 minutes of peace is almost indescribable. Right? So St. Ignatius of Loyola, in his book, he talks about the prisoner analogy, which fits in perfectly for this channel. But he writes, if a prisoner is sitting quietly in their cell, the guard ignores them. But the second they try to break out, the alarm sound and the fight begins. The attack is proof of your escape. So obviously, you're the prisoner. The cell that you're in is your life of sin, and the guard is the devil. right? When you're sitting in your life of sin, just sinning, the guard's not paying you no attention. You're doing what you're supposed to do. But the minute you try to break out of that cell and leave that life of sin, that's when the devil jumps up and reacts and the guards come running. So for me personally, I feel like it's a two-pronged attack that the devil's using. The first one is he attacks my sleep, especially on Saturdays. So Saturday night, I know I'm probably just not going to sleep because I think the devil wants me so tired that I'll skip out on mass, right? And the thing with not sleeping is when you're tired, you're agitated. When you're agitated, you're quicker to react. And that's the second part of the attack is I've always had a problem with my patience and my anger and just being too quick to react. And I find like I'm in more situations where I could react poorly. And I feel like they go hand in hand. I'm not sleeping well, so I'm more irritable, and then I'm dealing with these spiritual attacks, and so I'm not acting as well. And so obviously prayer is a big part of this. I try to stay in prayer during the night instead of going to play like video games or going to do whatever. I try to just focus on the Lord in those moments. And when I'm out in public and these situations come up where I could react poorly, I always make sure I have my rosary right in my pocket. I used to always have it in like in my bag, a little shoulder holster, but it wasn't quick enough access. I keep it right in my pocket now, so as soon as something happens, I can just grab it and not ever let it go. Right? So I think the main point that I'm trying to make with this video is that if you're under these spiritual attacks from the devil, that's a good sign. The fact that the devil wants your soul so badly and he feels like he's losing it, that he's pulling out all the stops right now to try to pull you back into that life, it means you're doing something right. And these spiritual attacks will not last forever. God is on our side. And so if we can just stay strong, stay resilient against these attacks, we're going to be rewarded in the end. And so real quickly, just to wrap it all up, I want to read a quick verse. I feel like it fits in perfectly with today's video, and it's from James 4:7. And he says, "Submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee you." Right? So I hope if anyone's struggling today that this video can help. If anyone's going through some things, just send me a message and I can pray for you. And other than that, I hope everyone has a good day and God bless.